This is part 2 of the chapter Heredity and Evolution, Standard 10th. So, control of traits. So, we know traits are the characteristics or the specific qualities which are transferred from the parent to the offspring. So, who does it? It is a section of the DNA which provides the information for formation of one protein, and that protein is called gene. Now, if this protein works efficiently, the traits get expressed in a better way, and if it is not, it will not get that required effect. For example, the plant height depends on the growth hormone. Now, this growth hormone is released by a protein. Now, if the protein is efficient, more growth hormone will released and the plant will be taller. But in case the protein is inefficient, growth hormone will be remained in smaller quantities, resulting in the plant being shorter. So this is how the genes controlled the traits. Now, what is the mechanism of inheritance? Mechanism of inheritance means both the parents have two sets of chromosomes which they transfer, and these transfer to the offspring, and these will have all the genes in this. Now, what will happen is when two germ cells combine, germ cells will combine only in case of sexual reproduction. What will happen is they will restore the normal number of chromosomes. Now, this is how we ensure that the stability of the DNA is. For example, humans have 23 pairs of chromosomes. So, when it comes, when a mating takes place and you get a zygote, it will never be 46 chromosomes, 23 from parent, from both the parents. It will ultimately be adjusted in such a way that there are 23 pairs only. So, now this is what is there. Now, in this most important factor for transfer of hereditary characteristics is something called as deoxyribonucleic acid. Now, what is this acid? It is a chemical in the chromosomes which will actually carry the hereditary character or the traits in them. So, how is the sex of the offspring decided? Now, there are factors for determining the sex of the offspring. So, one set of factors are called environmental factors and the other is called genetic factors. Now, environmental factors affect the sex of the offspring in some cases. For example, in turtles, if you see turtles, if the eggs are incubated at less than 28 degrees centigrade, males are formed, and if it is more than 33 degrees centigrade, females are formed. Similarly, in the case of reptiles like lizards, 28 degrees 28 and above, males will be there, less than 28 degrees, females will be there. Then there are snails which can change their sex also. Now, these are some of the factors, environmental factors responsible for sex determination. There are some other factors also called as genetic ones. Now, in genetics, factors determining the sex, it is determined by a pair of chromosomes as we have in humans also, and these pair of chromosomes are called the sex chromosomes. Now, in female, the sex chromosome is a homogeneous one, XX, whereas in a male it is a heterogeneous, it is XY. So, who decides? Now, what happens is humans, as I have told you, have 22 pair of perfect pairs and one pair of sex chromosomes which are not perfect. So, male, as I told you, has X and Y options, whereas female has both X and Y options. Now, how does it go? Now, this is like this. So, if a male, this is like this. So, the woman is always having X and X chromosomes, whereas the man is having X and Y chromosomes. During mating, if XY comes together, a boy is formed, whereas XX comes together, a girl is formed. So, this is how. So, it is actually the father who determines the sex of the child, not the mother. Mother always has XX chromosomes. It is only the father who has an option of X and Y chromosomes. Now, next comes variation in population or evolution. So, what do you exactly mean by evolution? Evolution means the sequence of gradual changes which takes place in the primitive organisms over millions of years. It is not an overnight thing at all. So, how to see how variation can happen in a population? We can have a examples. Now there is a simple example of 12 red beetles. Suppose red beetles are there in a green leafy bush, they reproduce sexually. So in the first case, what happens is, if you can see this diagram here, in the first case there are only red beetles. Now red beetles are easily available, easily visible by the crows in the green bushes, so they start eating this. But due to mutation or due to some error in copying, one of them becomes a green beetle. Now the green beetle then multiplies, then you have some green beetles and some red beetles. Now from this it is obvious that the green beetles are not easily visible, they are camouflaged in the green plant. So what happens, only the red beetles are eaten and the green beetles are not eaten. Now this is called a survival advantage. What is the survival advantage? The beetles which are green in color have an advantage over red beetles because they are camouflaged, they are not seen, and hence they are safe from the crows. This is what is called as survival advantage. Another case, the second situation, we will see there are red beetles and by some error in copying you get a blue beetle. Now these blue beetles start multiplying, and after some days you will have red beetles and blue beetles both together in that bushes. Now remember, red and blue both are visible, so they are equally eaten by the crows. But then what happens, a unexpected environmental change comes. What is that? A wild elephant comes in that area and he tramples all the bushes. Now what happens, blue and red both die, but by chance red die more than blue. So after some days you find there are only blue beetles. Now remember, blue beetles have nothing to do with survival here, because it is not because of the elephant has not seen the color of the beetles and stamped on it. It is by luck. So here we will see this blue color has no survival advantage at all. Both were at equal risk, but it is by chance that at whatever trampling that elephant has done, it has gone into the red ones only. The third case is, suppose in the third situation we have red beetles, but then what happens, the plants or the bushes, they get stricken by a virus and they start wilting. Now when they start wilting, there is no food for the beetles. So if you see here, the beetles have become very thin and gross. So for 2-3 generations the beetles are such like that. But then what happens, after 3-4 after a period of days or some months, maybe the viral disease has gone away from the plants. The plants are not growing, now growing normally, and when the plant go normally, we see that the beetles have also, the future generations of beetles are perfectly normal. So this means that due to climatic changes also the organisms are affected, but that is only with respect to those conditions only. Once the conditions are normal, everything grows back to this normal. So this is what is called evolution, and this is what is called the 3 situations in which we have seen the different adaptations. Thank you.